Hello, this is Angelia, and you're listening to or watching the podcast, Why You Do What You Do, a podcast that talks about human development and psychology to maybe help you figure out a little bit more about why you do what you do. And last time we were talking about the engagement hypothesis, where we're talking about, people of high intelligence get into more things and keep their mind going, and, that helps them in later life. So, are you folks that, I don't like school, I don't want to learn it, bad news for you when you get older. And we're going to take back up on that a little bit. A 6-year longitudinal study of 2,076 55 to 85-year-olds in Amsterdam sought to resolve the issue of causation raised in the Holt study, which is the one they were talking about regarding that. Do certain types of everyday activities affect cognitive functioning? Or does the level of cognitive functioning affect the activities people choose to engage in? And I personally believe it's a little bit of both. These researchers found little evidence of either effect when age, gender, education, and health were controlled. And that means, of course, in the controlled study, not they didn't control people's gender, don't even go there. They suggested that, rather than specific activities, general lifestyles and living conditions associated with the activities may account for their relationship with cognitive functioning. So again, if you don't use it, you lose it. And if you didn't start it, it's time to start it. Like I say, learn a language, get your crossword puzzles out, do something to keep your wheels turning, or they're going to stop. Competence in everyday tasks and problem solving. The purpose of intelligence, of course, is not to take tests, but to deal with the challenges of daily life. The smarter you are, the better you can get through life. Research has found a strong relationship between fluid intelligence and certain practical skills that tend to decline with age, such as the ability to read a map or a newspaper or to perform everyday tasks. As people get older, an important test of cognitive competence is the ability to live independently, as measured by the 7 instrumental activities of daily living, or the IADLs. Now, if you have an elder in your life who you're wondering, is it time or not for them to leave home, this is for you. Listen up, because these things will help you. And it's there's a question of whether they should be at home or not, this is going to help you out. And they are managing finances. Can your elder manage their own finances, or are they having, impulse shopping problems and, not keeping up with money? Shopping for necessities. Can they go to the store by themselves and buy what they need? Using the telephone. Can they use the telephone? Some older people, they forget, they might dial first without taking it off the hook. I mean, it's a thing. Obtaining transportation. Can they get themselves somewhere? Preparing meals. Can they do that for themselves? Taking medication. Can they remember to do that for themselves? And housekeeping. So these are the 7 things that they look at for competency in an elder. If they cannot do these things for themselves, then they need to be where someone can do that for them, whether it be in their home 24/7 or in a facility 24/7. So that's something to think about if you have elder that you're wondering, should they be somewhere else? As if they cannot do these things for themselves, or the majority of these things for themselves, they don't need to be by themselves. Shea and his colleagues gave older adults tasks in each of these areas. For example, filling out a Medicare form, filling out a mail order catalog form, looking up an emergency telephone number, figuring out a bus schedule, reading a nutrition label on a food package, reading a medicine bottle label, and reading instructions for using a household appliance. Fluid intelligence and to a lesser extent, crystallized intelligence accounted for more than half of the variance in performance. So again, the more intelligence you have to begin with, the more you're going to keep as you get older. Health and educational background affected the results through their effects on cognitive ability. So, again, people with more money tend to get a better education and tend to have, more intelligence than people who do not. So, when people tell you college doesn't matter, don't listen, because, they talk about being a well-rounded person, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But, if you're going for a certain degree, you might want to be in a career school or a job program where you concentrate on that one thing. Again, the more you learn, the more you know. Common sense, right? This relationship may be bidirectional. Not only may poor health and lack of education limit cognition, because you don't have the nutrients going to your brain that you need, but people with higher cognitive ability tend to get better educations and take care of their health. So, it might be feeding into each other on that. Although IADLs, which depend heavily on information processing skills, generally decline with age, that is not necessarily true of the ability to solve interpersonal problems, which tend to have strong emotional overtones and solutions that are less cut and dried. So again, the family dynamics, when the olders get older, sometimes there's problems getting along with them because more emotion starts to be into their decisions, and it's kind of hard to argue them out of that. So it can become a problem. The effectiveness of older adults' responses to such problems often depends on how meaningful the problem is to them. So if your older adult just doesn't care about what you think is a problem, we're kind of having that with my dad. My aunt and uncle think some of the things he's doing is a problem, but he doesn't think they're a problem. He thinks this is his adaptation solution because, his life has changed. His ability to do things has changed. So I think it's very ingenious of him to adapt and think of ways to do these things that, he can still get them done. He's not doing them the way they think he should be doing them, but he's still getting them done. So that tells me he's still got some, wheels turning up there. In one study, when presented with consumer or home management problems for which they could draw on a great deal of accumulated experience, older adults tended to use cognitive analysis of the situation and direct action, whereas adolescents and younger adults tended to avoid or deny the problem or depend on others to solve it. And unfortunately, there are adults who don't grow out of that. They still avoid the problem or deny the problem or want everyone else to solve their problem for them. The helplessness thing. I know some women like that, and I hate that because I feel like it makes the rest of us look bad if you're going around, helpless me, help me, whatever. When a problem involved in emotionally charged situations, such as conflict with friends, older adults tended to call on a wider repertoire of strategies than younger ones, including both action and withdrawal. Because sometimes it is the time to act, sometimes it's the time to take a step back and say, whatever. Can older people improve their cognitive performance? Can cognitive performance be improved with training and practice? Plasticity is a key feature of Balte's lifespan developmental approach, and he and his colleagues have been in the forefront of research on effects of training. Several of their studies have been based on the Adult Development and Enrichment Project, or ADEPT, originated at Pennsylvania State University. In one study based on ADEPT, adults with an average age of 70 who received training for in figural relations, rules for determining the next figure in a series, a measure of fluid intelligence, improved more than a control group who received no training. So, again, if you work the brain, crosswords, Sudoku, your brain's going to last longer. You got to keep it busy. A third group who worked with the same training materials and problems without formal instruction also did better than the control group. And this self-taught group maintained their gains better after 1 month. So, even if it's, like they say, something you're doing yourself, that's better than nothing at all. Apparently, the opportunity to work out their own solutions fostered more lasting learning. So you can still learn things, as you get older. Don't let your brain fall apart. Give yourself something to do that keeps you stimulated, whether it be reading or, like I say, crosswords, Sudoku, something other than, sit in front of the boob tube, help you keep things going. And that's where I'm going to leave you for today. I hope that'll help you figure out maybe a little bit more about why you do what you do. Please like and share this educational program so we can spread it around the world. If you want to help me out, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you want to help me out even more, go to my Patreon page and become a patron. Thanks for watching. That's all for now. Until next time.